Baltic is back. Baltic is back. That's what I'm talking about. Okay, I am Trajan, and let's get started.
Chosen one deep into the pit, a lot of low health bars, gets the hit onto Homeless Master. Can he take the carry down? Homeless Master has gone down, there's no fight now for GoXanimo. It's going down to the wire, he's going to get it. Yomu takes it at 40 HP.
No, he doesn't, it was Faison.
Oh my goodness, what? He stole it when he was in form.
Once GoXanimo started.
Oh, it's the same formula once again. The big turret is down. Faison takes so much damage from Salas overall, but Yomu, he might go down first. Chosen one takes it, denies the soul.
As you can see, it was a wild opening week for the Baltics, and we might be in for a tighter season this time around. Now, if you pick one match to watch this week, make it GoXanimo versus Iron Wolves. That was some of the most intense, nail-biting action we've seen out of the Baltics in a long time. Plus, Senna Heimerdinger bot lane. What's not to love? The standings still wound up more or less where we'd expect, with Kaskilla and GoXanimo sharing first place. Method to Madness are having another slow start to the season with their fresh roster. Time will tell if they can climb back up to the level we saw in the spring playoffs. Now for me, next week is going to be all eyes on Vortex Gaming, the Estonian squad where the players have in the past not quite really found success in the standings, but they've always been able to push our top teams to the limit. They make Kaskilla sweat this week, and they took one of the cleanest wins we saw over Method to Madness. And that was with a sub-support, their starting support playing mid, and their starting mid playing jungle. Could this finally be the season where they take their place among the best? And that's all you need to know about the Baltics for week 1. Tune in next week, you do not want to miss it, because if you do, I will cry.
Slowly, the TP from Moinos now coming through into the pit goes Goxi. It's pretty early though, and the Safi charge is there to stop him up. The counter equalizer is down, and Goxi jumps out of the pit, but now he can't reach it.
He's got flash,
but he's held it! He doesn't need to stay there!
Yeah, should be able to grab this one unless Opelish gets the God Steal with his W. Let's see it. Let's go right here. Oh, he
got it! It's the God Steal from Opelish! He's got a ball, but you called it, Doctor, and it just happened!
We are already 2 weeks into the Baltic Master Summer season, and it's already been great. The teams have really stepped up in terms of their play since the spring season, and it feels a lot like the lines between those middle-of-the-pack teams have become a lot more blurry. The standings truly aren't as cut and dry as they used to be back in spring. We've also had nothing short of just absolute bangers across the board non-stop, and there was no better game to start this trend than week 1, day 1, game 1, Iron Wolves versus Method to Madness. It was an absolute slugfest, it was back and forth, and it really showed how these two teams had developed over the off-season. And if we take a look at the standings, you can see sort of how this has, how it's appeared, right? We've obviously got GoXanimo and Kaskilla at the top of the table. That much was to be expected, but then it gets a little bit murkier in the middle, and you may notice that Method to Madness are actually 0-3 right now. Method to Madness went to EU Masters, and they are no bad team, but everyone else really seems to have stepped up and is starting to reach their level, and it's made for some exhilarating games. On top of that, every team seems to have their own unique set of strengths and weaknesses, and those weaknesses actually seem to be pretty clear-cut, so hopefully over the course of the split, we'll see those teams be able to hone in on their strengths and remove those weaknesses, and the level of play will only continue to rise. So there's a lot to look forward to if anyone wants to come and tune on in to the Baltic Masters.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the Dutch League. Please excuse the mess in the background. It has been a very chaotic week, but let us just jump right into all the action that has happened in the Dutch League.
Op 11 minuten in de game. De botlane van Ekuzulu weet dat op dit moment die Drake op kan komen, op gaat komen. Ze echt moeten oppassen hier. Hier komt de engage van PSV. En hallo, dat is Echo Zulu opgeblazen. 2 van die kills gaan naar Kevo.
We're halfway through the split. Every team has played every team, and we have a nice waterfall standing at the end of the first half. First up, we had a Dynasty versus Team Trill. Team Trill has multiple old Dynasty players, so a win here would not only mean an improvement in the set standings, but also a mental advantage for the rest of the split. This was a one-sided game, which spells good news for Team Trill looking towards playoffs. However, Dynasty are still looking for their first win. Another one-sided game was played between PSV Esports and Echo Zulu. This should have been the future matchup of the week and be very close, but it wasn't. Here you can see how PSV out-macroed Echo Zulu on every stage of the early game and have some random fights at the end just to make up for the boring early game. If you enjoy a fun game and you have 20-ish minutes to spare, definitely take your time to rewatch this one. Lastly, we had the Lowland Lions versus MCon Esports Rotterdam. This was supposed to be a close matchup, but after a non-eventful early game, MCon decided to pull the trigger. They ran away with the game due to smart fights and objective play. That brings us to the current standings. We have PSV at the top. They are still undefeated 5-0, followed by MCon, who are 4-1. Echo Zulu 3-2, Team Trill 2-3. Lowland Lions 1-4, and Dynasty still winless, looking for the first win with 0-5. Anything can happen in the Dutch League with only one game difference between the team above and beneath you. Next week, or maybe this week, depending on when the EU update comes out, we have both Team Trill and Dynasty fighting for the playoffs lives as they both play 2 sets of matches. I hope to see you there, and I'm sorry for the lesser quality this episode. It has been a very chaotic week, but I hope I still delivered all the information to you guys, and we will see you live on Esports Prime LOL.
Hey everyone, I'm Morche. I'm one of the shoutcasters of Mastercard Hitpoint Masters and I am here to give you a quick update to our ERL.
Na to plane, možná chvílema tam Prio byl, ale bylo to takový podle mě půl na půl na botlane vůbec.
No, počkej, Sátor je v problémech. Dostává obrovský sílok, ještě flashuje, ale s Ignitem na hlavě. On se healnul, spoušnul a z Domination 3. No tak to je insane. No to je insane, tady letí ještě trušet baráž a on jde venčit. On jde venčit ještě Mangera s jedním životem, to by mu možná jako, no možná bude stát, ne, on to zvládne, ne, on to, no jo, no.
Tak já bych to vypínal.
Dobře.
Já bych to vypínal, kde je to Alt F4?
So far, we had 4 game days. As expected, Esuba and Sinners are at top of the standings with scores 4-0. Of course, they are our 2 most successful teams, so it was quite obvious that they should be at the top. One surprise that probably caught a lot of us off guard was EUniverse with score 2-2. It's a pretty new roster built from some younger talents, which we didn't really expect to do that well at the start of our league, but they actually grabbed some wins, so that's pretty exciting for them. Well, while EUniverse was quite a pleasant surprise after the 4 game days, the not so pleasant surprises were Dynamo Eklot, the new organization, and Viking Ekrik. Viking Ekrik has actually a pretty solid roster, which we rated like middle of the pack, but they actually couldn't grab a single win after the 4 game days. They are definitely looking to bounce back, and I think they can still grab some wins, but it's not gonna be easy for them after a not so good start. And also Dynamo Eklot with 3 imports in their main roster. They looked pretty crazy in their first game, some Yasuo to playing insane outplays by Rifty, but then they didn't do really so well, but we still expect to hear a lot about them, and I also think that Dynamo Eklot has a lot of potential, but they just didn't really show it in the first weeks. Okay, this was everything for this week of Mastercard Hitpoint Masters. I am Morche, and I am looking forward to seeing you next week.
Hello, I am Anifar and I'm back with all things LPLOL. Começaram a levar o Baron e a este ponto nem é assim tão lento, especialmente com o dano de auto-ataques que o Viego tem, mas os karmas já estão à procura, já conseguem pôr vou entrar.
Olha o Flipper! Matias! Heroic! É o Superior Burger Flipper! E consegue o Baron da sua equipa! Tentativa de desengage! Muito bem beat com knock-up em toda a gente e os karma dizem obrigadinho, meu!
O Heroic consegue dar out-smite ao jungler, usou, Matias!
Matias passa lá para meio e é pelo que vai a primeira eliminação! Logo a seguir cai Viego e o Heroic mata outra vez a cabeça de partida! Minha nossa! Choque 32! Mas é para o desengage e a equipe dos Karma Clones está por cima, Anifar!
A lot has happened in the last 3 weeks, so let's get right to it. The biggest difference from Spring Split to this Summer Split was the way the Karma Clan Esports came to win it all. Not only are they already beating the best teams our league has to offer, including White Dragons, but they are also putting on performances that are really going to be shown until the end of days. Karma Clan are actually tied for second place with 2 other teams, GTZ Bulls and For The Win, 2 of the most dominating teams of Spring Split as well, and White Dragons, to surprise of absolutely no one, are currently isolated in first place, having lost only to Karma Clan. When it comes to last week though, the biggest surprise was how E5 Esports got their first win. They brought in 2 new players for the jungle and mid position, and they are definitely paying off as they got the best out of Boavista on the last game of the week. Looking at last week's games though, the most exciting one was definitely EGN versus Karma Clan, a game that was dragged on for a very long time. Karma Clan looked like they were gonna lose it all, as they usually do, and they just turned it around with a huge Baron steal, as you've seen from the clip earlier. Looking forward to next week though, we will have the classic. For The Win versus EGN is going to be a banger of a matchup. The 2 most historic organizations in Portugal are going to battle it out again, and EGN seem to be on an upward spiral. As for me, I have been Anifar, and this was the LPLOL recap. See you again eventually.
Hello everyone, Noah here again with the latest news from Spain.
EUcdate, que había perdido los destellos en la jugada anterior. Rafita que lo puede echar de menos, recibe el stun, el daño, el burst por parte de 1-3 que va a acabar muriendo. Rafita salía de la ultimate de Tilan y consigue la kill, mientras que Hades con el alma de dragón de océano se está tanqueando a Tila. Destello de Miniduque, capítulo final, Vaca tiene que flashear, no de Antonio. Hades aguanta muchísimo, ahí está la escarcha eterna, Miniduque que puede morir, destello de Atila. Ahí va Tommy Jerry, la rata pegando muchísimo, casi que lo intenta levantar, pero el gato se mete en la cárcel aún así. Se va a llevar otra kill a Tila, se vuelve a curar y puede limpiar al equipo de UCAM. Salen invisible, se lleva una cuadra, se puede hacer la penta, tiene el escudo, Vaca lo va a impedir, Vaca se lleva la teamfight, esto lo gana UCAM.
Besides this game-changing Zonia from Baka in the UCAM vs Vodafone Giants, a game which I aggressively recommend and encourage you to watch, we've had Zed mid, Mordekaiser mid, Garen mid, and that only in our last week of competition. Standings were not safe from upsets, and maybe the most surprising thing has been the double victory on eMonkey's back, one of them versus UCAM, precisely. A victory for eMonkeys that shut down the 6 victories winning streak from Superliga champions. Also, considering that eMonkeys has always been a low-tier team in Spain and the 2-0 week milestone was never achieved in spring by them, this needs for sure to be celebrated. Next week we'll be closing our first half of competition, and teams have been playing some crazy stuff, and with the arrival of 11.13, I really don't know what to expect from my own league. This has been everything this week from Superliga. See you next time.
Hello EUverse, my name is Jamada, and let's have a quick chat about what exactly is going on inside of the NLC.
Distance out. But anyway, look, let's see how this game goes. He's going to have Google and Hitpoint ready to go. Is it Group A or Group B, guys?
It's Group A. We know it's Group A. B for bad, A for excellent. As we're getting ready to amazing. Oh my god.
I can't believe you just said that. I can't believe you just said that. It just it flew over my head as well.
Because you nodded. You were like, yes, A for excellent. And then I was like, absolutely. But you get a
Week 4 saw a continuation of cross-division play. Whilst Division B was shaping up exactly how I was expecting to after Week 3, with Fnatic Rising topping the charts there, in Group A, BTXL weren't actually at the top. It was Team Singularity, with Tricked in second and BTXL in third on head-to-head against Tricked. So, what exactly had been going on with BTXL? It was no secret that BTXL weren't exactly looking like their spring selves, not just from the scoreboard, but also just their performances in-game. Despite, of course, having a positive win record, their 4 wins hadn't exactly looked the most convincing, but through interviews with players, they did say that they would be back as the split went on, and, well, Week 4 certainly echoed that sentiment. And BTXL's games are actually very much on character for much of what we saw in Week 4. Most teams that gained the lead this week ended up closing out in a very quick and concise manner. And what that meant for the standings of both divisions was that in Division B, as you can see, not much has changed. However, I would like to highlight Godsend, who picked up their first win, and not only that, put out some relatively convincing performances from start to finish this week, so look out for them once we return from cross-division play to potentially look to play some upset in their group as things progress. And over in Division A, as you can see, Tricked and BTXL share the first place position for now. Tricked technically in first place due to head-to-head, with Team SNG having a not so up to standards performance this week, dropping to third place, and they're actually a game behind on Tricked and BTXL, meaning that they could actually extend the lead here moving into Week 5.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, this is Karen here for you with your weekly update on PGNATIONALS.
Torre missilistico, un bel po' di danni su questa torre, così assume la posizione avversaria, Rito in fin di vita, serie interrotta! 1 per 1 però cade anche Robin. Torna l'aggressione, lama dello Zenith, trovato quest'ultimo di Ace, però guarda che danni imbarazzanti. L'ultimo attacco, Angry Panda, Lotus a trovare comunque l'uccisione di Ace, è ancora vivo, gli scudi reggono bene, Quixat regge bene, erige una saracinesca che non puoi in alcun modo trovare. L'apertura.
E occhio perché
l'ultimo
adesso
colpo lungo.
la rigrada non è facile, Karma permette un follow-up tremendo.
Lotus, le fiammate!
We are heading in the second half of the split with a very unique and bizarre state of the standings. The whole upper half is right now tied for the first place. But how did we get there? Machko in the last week managed to completely jump off their initial slumber and ended up with a 2-0 who tied them with Axolotl, Gaia Esports and Outplayed, who all ended up with a 1-1 week after a lot of cross face-offs. In the bottom half, a very nice week for Cyberground Esports and Samsung Morningstar, with 1 win and 1 loss, were bringing them closer to GG and Esports, making the relegation playoff zone still kinda hot. Unfortunately for Makers, they are still struggling to find their form and find their win, but we will see how the second half of the split will pay off for them. And for me, it's everything for today, but I recommend you to don't miss a single match and we will see together how this chaos of a split will keep going.
Qui è un fight non assolutamente conveniente per gli Axolotl, per quanto AFM comincia a fare sempre più danni.
Sì, Nux però deve stare attento, non tanti HP dalla sua
e anche Deidara pure. Guarda quanti rallentamenti, Sebex gli fanno usare la kill ma poi torna indietro e sarà sicura con l'uccisione, poi che danni da parte di Sebex, di Stenboss per finire push su AFM, questo è un barone chiamatissimo.
Hello everyone, Moonboy here and welcome back to the PGNATIONALS update. I'm in front of a green screen right now, so I have no idea what Dinos put behind me. Let's get started.
Intorno a questo obiettivo Quixet è pronto con la toccata e fuga, dall'altra parte MB Carry, veramente pochi gli HP. Ora il pure prova a entrare Lotus che viene portato sempre più a alta vita, provano a entrare in questo caso con MB Carry, ci riescono con l'ultimate anche da parte Sonic che viene ucciso da D-Haste. Lotus ancora prova a fightare insieme a lui, c'è D-Haste che prende una doppia uccisione, continua ancora il fight da parte di D-Haste, prende l'avversario, sarà una tripla uccisione da parte di D-Haste, però Mistil potrebbe partire, Mistil non ci riesce, è una quadrupla uccisione da parte proprio di D-Haste che arriva ora ed è una pentakill per il Re Rovina!
Signore e signori, Viego is in the house!
Week 4 is behind us, and what started as a 4-way tie for first place, marking a solid top 4, ended with a solid top 5. GG Esports was the big surprise of the week, extending their win streak, taking a game off Outplayed, and confirming their second 2-0 week. This puts them in 5th place, but they're only 1 win behind Outplayed and Gaia, and 2 wins behind Axolotl and Machko. Meanwhile, Samsung Morningstars and Cyberground Gaming are gasping for air, fighting for the 6th place spot. We're going into our second to last week of the regular season, and playoffs are getting closer every day. With so many promising teams, it's almost impossible to predict who's going to come out on top. And that's all from me for this week. Stay hydrated, stay healthy, stay away from the sun, a glowing ball of fire, and I'll see you next time.
Alright, I know it's 5 AM, my computer crashes every single time that I try to run this. So I've got to do it off my phone. My phone is being propped up by my mic stand and 2 screens behind that in the world's most bootleg tripod, and if I sit in my chair it doesn't fit in the frame, so I'm kneeling on the floor instead. I hope this is salvageable with a bit of crop work. Alright. Get nice and far back. Okay. Oh, please, God, tell me that worked. I'm so tired, man. Oh, my knees can't take another take. Oh, crikey.
Now, I'm gonna pretend I'm in space. Yeah, okay, that was enough dumb shit for one day.